Wonderful.
Perfect. Great.
Thanks. I'm looking at the slide and I realized I didn't put Cindy's name on it, so that's my bad. My colleague Cindy Zhang will be joining me here shortly. My name's Steve Holder. I work for SAS Canada and I handle our overall go-to-market for messaging and strategy in terms of how we get our solutions out in the market and how do we align our solutions to the academic sector, to the business sector, to the public sector. All the things that we do in the market falls into my purview. So today I'm going to take you through a couple of small things. And we're going to get you some exposure to the platform that we've set up as per Dean to help you guys deliver on your analytic challenge. So both of our speakers today have talked about the analytics economy. The analytics economy is driving all that we do. And the fact that organizations like Queen's and other institutions are building up analytics practices and analytics programs means that it's actually a real thing. And so SAS has been in the analytics space for about 40 years. Some people know SAS, some people don't. And as a sponsor of this initiative, what we wanted to do is help enable the technology so we can deliver results for you and help enable you to deliver your results. So we've provided some technology, and Cindy and I will take you through what that technology looks like today. But the analytics economy is what's driving our organization and why initiatives like this are so exciting to us. I wanted to share that this isn't the first time we've done this. And it's actually kind of cool that we can bring data for good or start to bring data for social causes to the forefront. And I wanted to talk to you briefly about two examples that align behind the initiative that Queen's is doing as well, which is Project DataSphere is a crowdsourced organization that allows us to collaborate with researchers, healthcare institutions, policymakers around cancer data. So what a great use of technology and what a great use of the analytics economy. Just like with this example with food, we've actually done it to help support cancer research and break down some of the barriers around sharing information about cancer. Just like with the Queen's example, SAS helped enable this organization through the SAS platform to help deliver results faster and give you an end-to-end solution. So we'll talk about what VIA is in a second. The other one is the International Organization for Migration. And this organization helps deploy resources on the ground when there's been disasters, whether that's the hurricanes that recently hit the Caribbean or the earthquake that happened in Mexico City. In this case, it was going back a couple years to the earthquake in Nepal, where this organization used analytics and data to figure out how to deploy resources on the ground and make better use of the limited resources they have and prioritize how to get shelter for people who were displaced. So both these data for good initiatives, actually, it's part of our DNA, and it's part of the analytics economy, if you will, to help drive social good from data in general. So I guess I wanted to show those because this initiative is pretty impactful for us. The SAS team's been working behind the scenes to help enable this, and we've done it on a couple of different fronts. So Cindy will show you an example today of another data for good example. We didn't use food data, and we did that on purpose because we didn't want to have Cindy show you the outcome. We wanted you guys to create your own outcomes, but we'll show you another example of some data for good that we've done as well today. So when you guys think about your analytic challenge, one of the pieces that we talk about, and Dean talked about it in the rubric today, it's data discovery and deployment. Your analytic challenge can't start without having some data. And Queen's has been good enough to provide a link to a very robust data set, and you can start to play with that, but you can also augment it. That's where the data process starts to come, and I'll show you an example of that. The discovery process is all about figuring out what are you looking for, what are you finding, and having that data tell you a story and start to embark on a journey around your data. It's more than just the algorithms. The algorithms are certainly an end state, but you really got to look at the data and see how's that going to tell you a story. And then you apply algorithms to figure out neat predictions and forecasts and insights and correlations and all that great stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about that discovery phase. And the rubric had a piece on there and say, how do you make this insight deployable? Okay? How do you have something that's actually actionable? And one of the challenges as students that you're going to face as you move from the academic world into a job potentially in analytics is how do you make those insights something that people can consume? It's about telling a story. It's about making it so the insight isn't so complicated that it can't be deployed. We often talk about the Netflix challenge. Has anybody heard of this story? Netflix offered $1 million to someone who could build a better recommendation engine. It went on for 2 years. Someone actually found that they could get some incremental analytic accuracy, better lift, if you will, on the algorithm for recommending Netflix recommendations in movies. However, 2 years after that, they still hadn't deployed the insight because it was too complicated and it didn't add enough value for the effort it would take to deploy. So I encourage you to think about, as you're building your analytic challenge, make sure it's something that you can be actioned on. Make sure it's something that can be deployed. And it's more than just the math and the insight. So that's the analytic process. The way it could look for you is to say, raw data, you're going to access, you're going to explore. You're going to dig into the data. You're going to look for things in the data that you didn't know were there or that you knew were there and you just wanted to prove. But then you're going to have to transform your data. And the platform we provided through the challenge is to help you do that. It's to help you go through this analytic process. The ability to create what we call a base table. A base table is where you've taken the data, normalized it, denormalized it, desummarized it, whatever pieces you need to do to the data to start to begin your analytic journey. But you're going to have multiple base tables. So you may have to transform another table or source another piece of information or extend that table. So you're going to create an analytic pipeline. You're going to iterate on that information and build out a base table, and then your analysis begins. Then you run an estimator or a model on top of that analytic. For anybody who's been in academia, and you guys probably do this every day, but the platform that's been provided with SAS is to help you with that process, okay? And the things that Cindy's going to show you are going to take you through each step of that process. And really, the data piece of the puzzle is all about the foundation for analytics. How do you access the sources you want to do? Most of the data you're going to be working with is going to be flat files or CSV files, okay? That's what we've enabled in the technology. We didn't create a big database cluster for you to work with. We felt like CSVs was the right way to go about this. You can build, merge, and transform, and you can profile the data inside the application, and we'll show you some examples of that. And then on the discovery phase, you might do something as simple as a business intelligence report or a simple report. You might have a dashboard to tell a story, a data visualization story. So we've given you those capabilities as well. But we've also given you the ability to predict and do some light forecasting as well. So the application that's installed here will give you those broad range of capabilities so that ultimately you can get to the green box on the right-hand side, which is your result. Again, there's a PowerPoint that needs to be uploaded and a presentation you need to do, but we hope that we can give you the technology so you can build out your result and your story, okay? That's the analytic process. So how do we enable that as a technology provider? We've given what we call our complete analytic platform. Can you tell the marketing guys got a hold of this slide? It's the ability to ingest and transform any data you have. So if you look on the right-hand side, that's the picture of the SAS platform, okay? This is a little bit of a commercial for SAS, so I won't make it that, but I think it's going to enable that data discovery and deployment mechanism. And you want to be able to source data in. It's open to any tools or skill set. So we've given you some things to actually consume this platform via Jupyter Notebook or R or Python if you're a Python programmer. Which is, if you're familiar with SAS in any way, shape, or form, is kind of a new thing, and I'll show you what that looks like. It gives you some data preparation and exploration capabilities, and we've implemented all the SAS analytic methods, including a bunch of machine learning techniques that people are quite excited about these days in the analytics space, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then we've given you the ability to visualize your results so you can create that final result in a visual report if you so desire. You don't have, I don't think you have to use SAS, but if you want to, it's there for you. So that platform is there to allow you to do those things: ingest, explore, build visualizations, and deliver. So what does it look like in terms of some of the capabilities? So you have the ability, and we're showing the visual interface. I want to be clear, the visual interface is just one option. Most of you will likely use the programming interface. That's okay. That's a good thing. We'll show you what that looks like. But this, we have ability for in-memory data manipulation. You can do all your frequency cross-tabbing. You can transpose your data. You can do variable binning, cardinality analysis, all the things you would need to explore your data and start to understand what you've got on your hands. Because while you could probably scan that CSV in Excel, having a system that allows you to run the summary statistics on it will make it a little faster for you, okay? So we've given you a full suite of data manipulation capabilities, including variable selection and imputation and sampling and partitioning, okay? And we'll show you an example of that. We've also given you analytics. So the analytics pieces include all of the common analytics methods. And there's a debate right now, and I think if you wanted to get philosophical about it, you could have a debate whether traditional statistics is machine learning or machine learning is traditional statistics. I'm not going to solve that debate here today, but what this platform provides is all of your general linearized model techniques, your regression techniques, which are pretty common, principal component analysis, all of your standard analytic techniques that, as anybody who's in the analytics space, you should be familiar with these techniques and when to apply them. Part of the challenge, as Dean highlighted, is to apply analytics, not just to apply a report. You actually want to get into the weeds and apply some math to this data and have your insight be predictive or insightful in some way beyond something that you could see in a pie chart, right? Everybody knows that pie charts are the worst way to communicate data, but that's a different issue, okay? So we've given you some of those statistical techniques. The visualization here is showing that segmentation, there's box plots, there's ability to do heat maps. You've got some of those visualization techniques available on the platform, okay? The last mile is machine learning. So the platform provided to Queen's has gradient boosting, including extreme gradient boosting, if you guys are familiar with that, XGBoost. It's got PCA components, random forests, support vector machines, variable clustering. It's even got text mining, okay? Most of the use cases you guys will have will probably not require text mining, but that's in the platform as well. And you've got the ability to actually do some advanced neural networks as well. Some of the deep learning pieces we didn't put in there. There's a reason for that. It's because I think given the scope of the challenge, you've got enough capabilities there, but there could have been deep learning pieces in there. We just chose to hold those back for you guys because if you want your model to be interpretable, it's kind of hard when you apply a deep learning algorithm to it. And given the scope of the challenge, we felt it was enough to give you most of that. So all those techniques are there for your disposal. So the VIA platform helps you, it helps enable all that stuff, the data prep, the traditional statistics or predictive analytics, and then some of the machine learning techniques to help you get a better insight faster, right? Everybody knows that if you can do variable reduction automatically, it helps you get a better analytic insight faster, okay? So those are the capabilities that are available to you. What we will show you today is a couple ways that you can consume that. So the first way that you can consume it is we've installed and configured our data science notebook. It's a product called SAS Studio. It's a wizard-based system, if you will, but it's primarily a coding interface. So if anybody has SAS skills and you've used Display Manager or SAS University Edition, this application is part of that. And you can see on the right-hand side, it writes code for you. One of the things about it, though, is it actually has tasks and snippets, okay? The tasks are little wizards so that you don't have to know how to write the code from scratch. You can just basically fill out components, and it'll build the code for you. So it's kind of a code generation metaphor, okay? So we've got, again, all this standard thing. So you can build your pipeline in code. That's the point of the slide. And SAS Studio is one of the ways you can do that, okay? So how do you get started? Queen's, as Dean said, has provided a platform through their advanced computing lab, and they've uploaded a home page. I think this will be provided to you in the documentation. But this will give you everything you need to kind of get started. And there's actually 4 options here. You can go SAS, Jupyter, or RStudio. And then there's a link where you can actually go get the data that you want, or you can pick whatever data you want to go. And we've given a little, Jeff from the CAC's written up a little home page so you can kind of use that as your anchor. In the top right-hand corner, there's 3 ways you can consume it. I showed you the SAS way, which is this. So when you go to log on, you'll be presented with a SAS Studio login. You'll be given a username and password from the Queen's team, and then that will give you access to SAS Studio. In the documentation, they've also shown you how you can upload data and how you can interact with the back end, if you will, so you can place your data files on the server and then manipulate them in the client. This is a server paradigm with a thin client, okay? So it means that you're interacting with a back end. So there's a little bit of work that you might have to do to upload your files, but that's part of the benefit of having a platform and an engine underneath it. So we showed you this example as well. So that's one option, SAS. We think it's a pretty cool option because we're SAS and we know SAS coding. But if you don't know SAS coding, that's okay. We've actually enabled Jupyter Notebook and RStudio. And what that means is they've set up Jupyter Hub. So if anybody's familiar with Jupyter Hub, that's a way that data scientists can go in and build your notebook. You can build a Jupyter Notebook. And we've added if you look in the top right-hand corner, there says import SWAT. SWAT is the SAS wrapper for analytic transfer. It's a piece of code that we put out. It's in GitHub. It's in the open ecosystem. But it allows you, as a data scientist who may know Python or R, to interact with Python and R, but actually execute your code in SAS. We're not compiling R code, but if you look at the code, you see import SWAT, and then there's a series of commands that we've emulated pandas and the common data science notebook, or data science techniques and things like scikit-learn and rpart. So we've actually done a SAS implementation of those. It's all in the documentation, and what that means is you're coding in a language you're familiar with, but the execution is happening in the SAS platform and in the server behind the scenes, okay? So a couple of different ways to go at it. This would also allow you to source other packages if you chose, but we have a set of packaging that gives you all the capabilities I talked about, the machine learning models, the data preparation capabilities, the data manipulation capabilities. That's all enabled through that SWAT package, okay? So you're not limited to SAS. You can use Python and R, okay? So in order to show you some of these capabilities, we decided we would do our own hackathon. And we're actually doing this with some other organizations as well. So what we did is we went out to the City of Toronto database and we downloaded some fire incident data from 3 different sources. This is an example of what you guys are going to be doing. You go out, we found some intersection data. So we found all the intersections in Toronto. We found some historical weather data. And we found some incident data for fires. Again, we didn't use food data. We thought about it, but we thought that would be too easy, because if you just did what we did, then you'd be able to submit our submission, and we didn't think that would be cool. So we did fire data. It's on purpose. We didn't skirt the issue. So what I want to do now is hand this over to Cindy, who's going to take you through her process and show you how to interact with the SAS system so you can start to understand what your journey is going to be like as we embark on this innovation challenge together. So with that, I'd like to introduce Cindy Zhang. Cindy is our principal data scientist, and she's the